So since I was young, I lived under the specter of some strange superstition that things would just work out for me for no real valid reason, just sort of a sense, a notion. And therefore, I never felt like I would have to ever work that hard for anything. I was fantastically desirous of a great and exciting future and of achieving a bunch of things. It's not just that I necessarily thought that the world would just grant me things, that things would just be given to me by the cosmos. I also thought that I would suddenly at some point be struck by some kind of divine spark of brilliance and motivation that would animate me and compel me to do all the things I've wanted to do so badly for so long, or that history, that history and destiny would eventually place me in a situation where I would have to, where I'd have to come to life, where these grand ambitions of mine would be sort of forced out of me by being in between a rock and a hard place or something like that. Sort of these fantasies of some sense of destiny. I'm 29 now. I turned 29 2 days ago. And so that's it. The clock has struck, and now I'm a year away minus 2 days from turning 30. And that seems like a big deal. That's kind of an arbitrary number. It's a cultural thing, I suppose, that 30 is kind of a big deal. But it seems to me that I should have achieved a hell of a lot more things by the time I turn 30. Lots of the people I admire have, did their great works in their 20s and 30s. So this year, I intend to achieve a bunch of things, or at least attempt to achieve a series of things. I've compiled a bit of a list of all the things I'm going to force myself to attempt to achieve, and I'm going to work very hard towards making happen. And so here they are. The first one is write a novel. I've been interested in writing since I was a little kid. I loved writing. I'm dyslexic, so I couldn't write. I couldn't spell to save my life. I still can't spell very well. But even if I couldn't write out when I was a little kid very well, I would go to my parents' work and they would sit me at a typewriter and I would just type away happily, thinking that I was, sort of thinking and then pressing buttons and thinking that somehow there was a link between my head and those buttons, and what I was doing was sort of significant. And I would put a lot of exclamation points and I would put letters that looked appropriate next to each other and construct this whole thing in my head. And then I'd want to show it to people and go, look what I've done. I'm so great. And I've always really been interested with the idea of writing. And I think that was my first, when you ask kids, what do you want to become when you grow up? I think that was the first answer I was giving. I gave a bunch of different answers, and like every kid, I wanted to work at an animal rescue shelter, and I wanted to, be a cop maybe. Probably not. I can't think of anything else, actually. Be a writer and work at an animal rescue center. So I'm going to write a novel this year. It's probably going to be awful. It's not going to get published. That's okay. That's not the plan. That's not the goal. The goal really is just to do it, to do the work, and to have 200 god-awful, cheesy pages, but at least to have them and to have gone through the motions and to sort of have that achievement under my belt, and then, you know, that'll be fine, and it'll suck, but at least it'll be there, and then maybe I'll do it again, and maybe it'll be something I'll keep on doing and eventually write something halfway decent, or maybe it won't. Maybe I'll do it once and I'll say, yeah, good, I got that out of my system, now I can move on, and you know, that's good. The next thing is grow my business so that it's making $10,000 a month. I feel embarrassed just stating that number. It seems so obscenely huge to me, but I'm sure if there are any entrepreneurs of significance or people with, you know, good high-paying jobs, they'd probably laugh at me for being so timid and unambitious. But so I think it strikes a happy middle ground. It's pretty damn ambitious as far as I'm concerned, but it still seems absolutely possible as an entrepreneur to grow one's business so that it's making a profit of $10,000 a month. So that's number 2. Number 3 is get to 10% body fat. I've been complaining for the last, well, since my concussion. Before my concussion, I was fairly fit. I had some striation on my abdominals. I was looking good, especially in certain lighting. So I want to get back down to 10% body fat, which is, for men, so I've been led to believe, the healthiest body fat percentage, especially if you have a fair bit of musculature, which I don't seem to have trouble with. I guess I'm genetically well endowed for muscle, or at least I grow muscle easily. But fat, I also gain fat extremely easily. So it's just a matter of watching what I eat and not eating like a pig all the time, like I do presently. The next thing is I want to learn an instrument. I want to make playing an instrument part of my daily routine. I'd like to take up maybe the piano or the violin. I used to play the violin when I was a kid, so maybe that would be an easy one to take up. But I'm really more interested in the piano. My family has a grand piano that my great-grandmother brought over from England, and I'd love to be able to rock out on the grand piano when I'm at the family farm. And, well, I don't know, something about the piano I find pretty alluring. The violin's also really cool. I've been listening to some Paganini, and I'd love to be able to blast out some Paganini within a year. If there are any classically trained musicians out there, I'm sure they're shaking their heads going, there's no way you're going to be rocking out some serious Paganini within a year. But that's not my goal. My intention is really just to pick up an instrument and improve myself. I don't have any sort of concrete goal, some sort of end place where I want to be by the time I turn 30, but I just want to have that ritual ensconced in my daily life by the time I turn 30. The next thing is I want to try doing stand-up comedy. I don't want to do it professionally at all. I really like stand-up comedy, and for a while I thought it'd be fun to do. So I just want to try it once. I'm going to film myself doing it. It's going to be funny only because I'm going to fail so miserably. That's half of what this channel is about. I really like writing jokes. I used to do it a lot just for the fun of it. My jokes were absolutely revolting. I don't think they're funny. I think they're just disgusting. So I think it'll be really embarrassing to get up and tell a bunch of awful jokes that are just offensive and not funny at all. Watching people fall and hurt themselves is always the funniest thing. And the last thing is I'd like to start some sort of club, an achievement club. I know it sounds ridiculous that some guy who self-proclaims as someone who hasn't achieved anything would start an achievement club. But I've always fantasized about being part of some kind of club like that. I don't know if they exist. I've done some research. I know they do, but I don't think they're sort of a widespread thing. Anyway, I'd like to, screw it, I'll start my own club. Maybe it'll just be some small online community. Maybe it'll just be like a Facebook page with 2 people, you know, some family members who give me likes, and myself pitching ideas, you know, reading self-help books and going, well, I've just come across this new method of positive thinking that's going to change my life and make me overwhelmingly productive. Or maybe, you know, what I'd like to do is find a physical location and meet maybe once a week as a group and come up with strategies to actually achieve the things we want to achieve. At first I want to do some sort of entrepreneurs group, and then I realized most of my goals are quite personal, and there's only one that's entrepreneurial. That's probably the one that's going to take up most of my time. It's definitely the one that's going to take up most of my time. I'm going to spend I already do spend like 10 hours a day working on my business. And so I'm going to keep it that way. I just want to add little things on either side of that 10 hours. So this club is going to be about getting in touch with other people who have that drive and who are at that point in their lives where they're fed up with being some leaf drifting around and letting sort of the world affect them and sort of just getting by whilst daydreaming and fantasizing about the outcomes they'd like to have, and then being fed up and frustrated with themselves and their life and the world, the universe, for not just handing them what they want. And that's a ridiculous way to live, but lots of people live that way. I've lived that way for most of my life, so now I'm being proactive. So I'd like to start a club of achievement where we're going to meet and we're going to figure out ways to achieve our goals and support each other, and not like back-patting, wet kind of stuff. Really, strategizing, and I want it to be very, very bent on productivity, not on community. I don't want it to just be some meeting ground for people to sort of go like, you know, I did something, I took a shit, let's applaud me. I want it to be a place where people will really come up with proactive strategies and learn from each other and push each other to achieve the things they want to achieve. So that's it. That's my list. Those are the things I hope to achieve before I'm 30. I'm going to film myself doing those things. That's basically what this channel is going to now be about. It's going to be about me talking about doing things, and hopefully if I get my act together, I'll start filming myself doing these things, because that's likely more entertaining than listening to me jabber on endlessly about things without ever seeing them being executed. This is awkward, but thanks to everyone who's watched my things and who's commented and thumbed up and all that sort of stuff. This is an extremely embarrassing, difficult process, but I appreciate people being positive and supportive, and so thanks. The hardest part of these videos is ending. I never know how to end them appropriately. And you can tell that I just do one take. I don't really edit anything as of yet. Maybe I should start doing that. Maybe that should be one of my goals, is make my videos a little bit more polished. I think that's part of the whole business thing. After all, to be fully transparent, this is sort of a business ruse. I've been led to believe that what works right now in the social marketplace online is people documenting their progress instead of selling their goods, sort of selling themselves, going, hey, look at me, I'm such an interesting, nice, good figure, side with me. And then people go, oh, this guy's kind of nice, let's buy his wares, let's buy his coffee. So that's my sneaky fox tactic. Anyway, thanks for watching.